Hello everybody, welcome back for some StarCraft 2 action. We have Gerald going up against GuMiho in the Group B of Homestory Cup 25. Now, let me think. We've seen Gumi skills. And, spoiler, Gumi narrowly lost, or no, he decisively lost versus Skillus 2-0. So Gumi kind of has to step it up here versus Gerald. His PvT was looking a little, or TVP, passive, I would say. Was looking pretty darn passive, especially that Ghost River game. If you go back, holy moly, Gumi just kind of looked like a low Masters player. Just didn't dare to move out, didn't put any pressure on the map. And that was just Skillus playing good, obviously, and Gumi getting slightly unlucky. But still, can't have that happen twice in your group, because then all of a sudden it looks pretty likely that you're not gonna get out of that. Not gonna get out of it. So I believe that I'm doing them out of order accidentally. I'm not sure how that happened, but I think Skillus Gumi happened in round 5, and this happened in round 3. So let's see how Gumi was looking before he went into that series. Gerald going for his Reaper Wall, getting an Adept out, and GuMiho going for Marines here. Went for a Reactor into Marines. I saw no Reaper at all, and getting a Reactor before any other unit. Now we do see the CC being scouted, but the factory has not been seen. You kind of are able to guess as a Protoss player that there is going to be a factory though, because how else are they gonna get some scouting? They need to get some type of mobile unit, and often that's either Reaper, Hellion, in this case Cyclone, might be still a Hellion follow-up, and if not, if there's no scouting, you're kind of expecting either a super greedy, blind third type of game from GuMiho, or you are expecting there to be some type of earlier timing push. Because if you're not scouting, that means you're not going to change your build regardless of what you see. And that is kind of either or, right? Either you're gambling or you are not changing your mind based on what you see, which usually means you're doing a pretty sharp timing attack. Now, 2 Cyclones going across the map here with a Marine. I guess this is kind of a moral support, this Marine. We do have 2 more Cyclones coming out and a Liberator in production. Liberators take a good while to build. And so these 2 extra Cyclones are moving across the map. There is an Adept here shading on in, but does get caught by the Cyclone here. This Adept might get a singular kill, is trying to shade on into the main base. Gets barely stopped by the depot. I thought the shade was going to get in, but ended up not getting in. Did we see? Nope, we did not see that SCV going down. And now 4 Cyclones roam the map. We do have some Stalkers here moving out. No blink just yet, but 5 Stalkers can do a lot of damage. The first Stalker has been pulled back. Nice click on that Cyclone. Clicks it down. Oh, a nice use of the shrubbery by Gerald, but GuMiho's Cyclones are starting to trade out favorably. And only 2 Stalkers remaining. Gerald probably has to warp in at least 1 more, 2 more. Now the Cyclone retreats before the Stalkers catch up, and especially this blink. At this point as Gerald, you don't even really want to reveal the blink, although you're kind of revealing it by making more Stalkers. And they are heading straight across the map. This Cyclone just chilling at the 4th base. Not going to do too much. What's Gumi doing behind this? Getting a stim. We have a tech lab on the starport. That is interesting. Is that for the 2nd barracks? Most likely it is. We have 1 tank, 2 tank. We're ready to defend against these annoying blink stalkers. This Cyclone scouts the 3rd. Might even get a little damage done on that pylon. Now the Marine tank moves on out. I would be surprised if it goes across the map, but you know, Gumi don't care. He's going for it. This Cyclone, what? Oh, because of the Liberator that was over here. Damn. Dude, the Cyclone trades out to a pylon. The Liberator does go down, gets a couple probe kills in the natural, and the Marine tank gets stalled up by those Stalkers in the middle. And Gumi starts a third base. Stim almost done. Combat shields only just started, and a reactor just starting up on the starport. So we've seen the starport for a while, but actually no medevacs just yet. And on Gerald's side of the map, we do see those Stalkers still. We have one forge being added on. We have a robotic support bay. Hasn't been used yet, though. We do see one Immortal. How many gateways do we have? We have 3 of them, 2 being added on. And here comes the first Colossus. You do want 1 or 2 Colossus against any type of tank Marine push, because Colossus do deal very well with Marines, strangely enough. Cheeky turret in the front, I like that, making sure that no DTs can walk on in. Gumi still on 2 orbitals. These Stalkers sharking around the map. The Observer is in the front, kind of out of harm's way, and doesn't get seen by the turret either, so I guess the turret also helps against those cheeky... Again with the cheeky observers, that... These observers just always, like, are chilling over here, you know, this dead space. They're just chilling there, and they see all your army movements. Gumi is not having that at all. He has a turret. He's like, nope. Never scanning there, just one turret. Observer moved a little bit. We see an extra barracks coming up. Oh. Gumi saw it, but Gerald also saw it. Turret in the back of the main as well, and we see +1 armor coming out. A little drop from GuMiho to find the observer. Just take it down, and we have charge on the map. Let's look at the army supply. It's looking pretty decent for Gumi, and Gerald can surely warp in a bunch of units to catch up. Meanwhile, he is slightly ahead in workers, but of course, Terran has some mules. So both players probably feeling okay with their position, and GuMiho's army's looking pretty mightily annoying. Pretty strong. 3 tanks in a good position can be super devastating. Tanks over here might be okay. I don't know if he wants to go for that position. Still a pretty slow siege onto the 3rd, but he might. We've seen Björn do a lot of work with this position near the natural, but Gumi's not going for that. He picks up all of his tanks, puts them in the back, and he is going for a slower siege and denying a 4th in the meanwhile. Like, if Gerald wants to take a 4th, it's this base, and that might be slightly easier to attack later on. Now we get the double drop in the 3rd base, and a bunch of tanks already siege away at the army as soon as it tries to stop Gumi from killing the base. Or at least killing pylons, the gas. Double drop comes out again, or a second double medevac drop. There's a couple zealots here. Ooh, we get a proxy gate again, dude. These European Protosses. They know how it's done. Maybe this is just meta, but I've only seen it from the EU Protosses so far. Although Mana did not do that versus Rion, if I recall correctly. Double drop in the main from Gumi, whilst there's also a double drop in the natural, and Gerald has to keenly, proficiently split his army here, or he's going to lose a lot of infrastructure and probes. Now this drop in the main is doing a lot of damage. Drop in the natural was cleaned up pretty well, or at least deflected. Not really cleaned up, it's still alive. Now they drop back into the 3rd, the tanks still in position. Very awkward position for Gerald. Should have rushed Tempest, bro. It's cooler, and it would have helped in this one particular position. Maybe if GuMiho then balls up his army and just A-moves you, you probably die, but, you know, we don't talk about that. Double drop gets into the main, kills the shield battery, tries to go for the probes, but isn't really capable of following them. And now the Stalkers and the Zealots will clean up the bio. Stalkers even getting a kill on one of those medevacs. And the rest of these Colossus do not want to follow around. This wall of Gerald is actually kind of stopping himself of dealing with the drop. these Stalkers being aggroed into siege tank range. This Zealot also dies for the cause. Got a little bit of damage on the Marauder that immediately gets healed up by the medevac. Don't tell him that in the afterlife. His sacrifice was the thing that turned all the tides. You know, he gets his 13 virgins. What do you get in the afterlife when you are a Protoss? I guess you become a Dragoon. That's the reward. Not very sexy, honestly. Gerald goes for the bust here, and GuMiho actually did not have a lot of units left here, just the tanks and a couple bio units. But Gerald waited as long as possible to bust that so that he could do it with minimal losses. Gumi now has a pretty sizable force. He has Vikings and Ghosts in this army, and 1-1 is done for his army. Look at that. The 4th was forced to be placed over here, and it is exposed. But Gumi not electing to go for it. There is a triple drop here in the 3rd as well. Where is the rest of Gerald's army? There are some Stalkers in the main, but they can't clean up that amount of bio. And Gerald still has to keep all of his forces at the 4th base in fear of this ginormous army. Losing a bunch of probes. Nice disruptor shot. Kills a couple of bio units. Oh my god, the snipe on these Stalkers was nice. Kills the one full medevac. I wonder if Gerald knew. Because that is... I feel like that is very hard to pay attention to which medevac loaded up the most bio. It's difficult to see because there's no like animation, kind of like you have with the War Prism, where you have like that little soul or whatever, like the reverse warping into the War Prism. You see that little animation, but with the medevac, it's literally just bloop. Just you snap in and out of existence when it's medevac's concerned. 2 High Templar on a mission here. Oh, disruptor shot goes out, doesn't hit anything. Second disruptor shot also doesn't hit anything. We do have a bunch of Templar in this War Prism. 3 more, if I am correct, yes. And this one was full energy. So there's a bunch of storms ready here from Gerald. But is it going to be enough? He has disruptors, Colossi, and Storm, but just doesn't have a lot of buffer. A bunch of disruptor shots go out. I don't think he has any left. Oh, one more gets a pretty nice hit. Where are the storms, bro? Where are the storms? We do see it now, but I don't know where the War Prism went. I feel like the War Prism left us. Did it get sniped? It did get sniped. What? Yeah, okay. I guess it got sniped by the Vikings and EMPs. I was like, where are all the storms? Well, the storms died. They died in transit. So Gerald now in kind of a tough position, but does clean up all of the air from GuMiho here if he gets these medevacs as well. That's the last 2 medevacs on the field. Gumi has to completely remake all of his air, except for the couple Liberators that he's building right now. So this is actually kind of decent. Both players completely resetting, and I think that favors Gerald here. No ghosts on the field either. So a complete reset. We do see a fusion core coming up, so Liberator range will be out. We see +1 air, and 3 2s underway for Gumi. Both players looking decent on the upgrades. Still 1 forge? No, there is double forge for Gerald. And Gumi has to retreat with this 5th base. This CC is not safe, and I think... I mean, it might die. These Stalkers kind of derping behind the minerals. It's not dying. This Archon tanks the gank, and the Stalkers do get out of there. Oh, triple lib harass. That is interesting. I feel like if you just shift Q1 to each base, that might be more successful. But the triple Liberator harass, that does send a signal. That's a Sigma male move right there. Look at this. If you re-siege one of them and, like, barely hit the minerals, boom. These Stalkers just die. Holy moly. The +1 helping? Question mark? I don't know how much extra damage Liberators start doing. Because 3-shotting, they do. I don't know if there's any, like, upgrade number that helps 2 Liberators suddenly 2-shot Stalkers. But it doesn't look like there's any upgrade number there. You know, StarCraft has these funny upgrade numbers, with Zealots having +1, and suddenly they one-shot Zerglings, or, well, 2 swipes. But then they kill a Zergling, so they don't have to start a new animation to kill a Zergling, which is huge. That makes Zealots way more efficient and way faster at clearing out Zerglings. And that's what I call an upgrade number. A funny number. Same with Roach versus Roach. And there's a bunch of them in the game. Dude, these Liberators so annoying. 24 probes have died. 16 SCVs have died in the meanwhile. I am not sure what happened. Or where that happened. Because this game is pretty hectic. 47 probes still left for Gerald. He still has this bottom base and this top base. If he keeps at least one alive, he's probably going to be in an okay spot. But this is a pretty sizable stim. I want to say suicide squad, but it is not suicide if there's nothing to kill you back. Unless you go full kamikaze, which there are no banelings right now. The High Templar come in. I'll do it myself. Starts throwing his little energy balls. He's kind of like Krillin. Kind of like, little key blast. Oh my god, the third base gets clicked down by GuMiho. The base clicker army. Oh, these storms got overlapped a little bit too much. So it didn't kill all of the Marauders. But these Archons... Oh, are they actually? I felt like these Archons were going to clean it up. There is a shield battery doing God's work. But Gerald now, 36 probes. Does have one base. Recalled a bunch of probes there, I presume. And there's a weird fight going on in the third base. Finally cleaning up all of the Gumi forces. And there's still a little force from Gerald here between the bases of GuMiho. We have one full Templar, we have one Disruptor, and some Gateway units. That is an interesting force to say the least. Zealots going a little bit too far ahead. Liberators trying to box in this army. 2 Disruptors even. Oh, this High Templar does not want to get clicked down. The Archon is here once again. The big boss is back. Disruptor shot goes out and does get 2 Marauders. The third Disruptor comes in. Gets another Marauder. I don't know what the good score is for Protoss. Like, what are you happy with? I feel like any amount of Ghosts you're happy with, they're like 2+ Marauders. Kind of feels okay. And of course, anything above that is kind of nice. Maybe a Widowmine is already fine. Because that's kind of guaranteed damage, and Widowmines are just good units. Little drop here, but Gerald is on it. He's rebuilding a 4th here. Long distance mining to his own 3rd. Because, you know, it's one of those games. Gumi has a 4th base mining. His 3rd base is also still mining. So Gumi slightly ahead here in the economy. Or slightly, he's pretty ahead here in the economy. And now gets the probe line, which extends all the way into the 3rd base on top of the center of Gerald's bases. And now even killing some production as well. Gerald does the haul ass back to his own main base here to try and defend it. Now starts sandwiching this bio army, but this bio army says, no, you were stuck here with me. Kills the Archon, kills a bunch of the Stalkers. Disruptor gets sniped right away. The Stalkers didn't blink in right away, but they do get the cleanup. And Gerald now only 75 supply. That was very rough. Losing 12 more probes, going down to 29. Only just finishing up his 2nd mining base, or like a 2nd base that could start mining for him. Whereas Gumi still sitting pretty on about 1.5 bases. The little Zealot runs into your opponent's army. Classic. You send out a couple Zealots, you're like, these need to do a little bit of damage. I need a little something something, and then you run into the main army. It's rough. These Stalkers are going to find a juicy command center. You'd rather find like 20 SCVs at this point, but I guess killing a command center is not too bad. Gumi decides not to turn around at all. And 4 High Templar here in the middle of the map. Could get sniped by a little bit of bio. What is Gerald going to do with his main army? He sees that Gumi is, again, waltzing towards his main base. And one of the High Templar does get sniped by that little force of bio that we did see move towards them. And Gumi just heads on over into the main once again. He has identified where all of the production of Gerald is. And indeed, Gerald has 5 gateways total, and they're all in the main base now. The big Stormy boys have arrived. One of them gets sniped. No more storms here for Gerald, and now he can't get up his own ramp. He's warping in the main, showing us that he wants to defend his main. And Gumi just sets up for it. More bio comes in from the back. And now Gerald does retake his own main base. But all of the AoE has been sniped. I don't even know if we have any robos. No, we do not have a robo. So no more disruptors. We do not have a Templar Archives either. So Gerald just does not have any tech. Barely any production. His money situation is kind of bad. And I think GuMiho is going to take this one home as he doubles the supply of Gerald. Now, this is a very excellent game to start your series with. Holy moly. This is just a dummy game, you know? Like, nothing really makes sense. They're just throwing haymakers every which way, I felt like. And Gerald loses one of his mining bases, does kill a bunch of Liberators for that. Has a couple of gateways here that won't be powered when they are completed. The probes go down, 17 probes, and yes, another army of GuMiho dies. But what is this? Sauruman, what have you done? I have created another army worthy of Mordor. Well, I mean, it's not that worthy just yet, but for this game, it will have to do. If this is worthy, then yeah, you're never gonna break Helm's Deep, but this is not Helm's Deep. This is more like the Shire, where you walk in with like 1 regiment of orcs and it's all ogre. The Stalker's running away. 4 Stalkers is the entire army of Gerald here. He tries to stay in it. He's persevering. 20 probes is all he has remaining. 1 base mining, and all he is doing is producing units. Meanwhile, this base has gone down. Gerald even knows it. Another one of those zealot run-bys, those hopeful run-bys. Like, please, please, please. Let me get a bunch of reinforcements. Let me get some crucial damage. Gerald goes for the final hurrah. The Hail Mary grenade has been thrown, but GuMiho does take the first game in this best of 3 on Oceanborn. And this is proving to be a pretty sick series. And for game number 2, we are here on Alcyone with GuMiho being 1-0 up over Gerald. So if Gerald doesn't want to be Mr. I am seeded number 3 and I will be 3rd in the group, you have to kind of step it up here, buddy, if you want to outperform your seed. This is a must-win game here for Gerald. Now, this is usually the place where I do a call to action, ask you guys to kindly subscribe and whatever. But instead, I just want to thank Mr. BenWilly1 for the kind comment that he left earlier today. It brought a smile to my face and made me really happy. Like, put me in a good mood to do this cast right after. So thank you very much. You know, the kind words do more than you think. Or maybe they do exactly what you think. I don't know how much you thought you've put into it. But still, thank you. Thank you very much. And then heading back into the game, Gerald moving out to scout after... I think it was after Gateway. And what is he gonna see here? Gumi showing once again this reactor without any other unit. He does see that... Or he sees the same thing as last game. He sees this depot being built, and then he harasses the SCV, and just a new buddy, a new SCV just shows up, and he's like, "Yep, it's my job now." Probe tries to be a little annoying. Another SCV comes in. That's the 3rd one they hired for that job. They keep having to hire new SCVs. So Double Marine comes out of the reactor, and we see another factory opener here by GuMiho. So let's see if he goes for the quadruple cyclone opener again. Because honestly, doesn't look that strong, but it's probably really annoying if you slightly miss micro, and then you lose slightly too many units to it. or you're being a little too greedy and you don't have the units to deal with it at all. Or it's like a map where there's just no ramps, which kind of Alcyone fits the bill, but if you walk up this ramp, you have quite a lot of space to use your Cyclones. But instead, it is one Hellion to replace the Reaper and go straight into a tech lab. Goes into a starport. So let's see what this is going to be. So it's going to be a Banshee, or we're going to see tanks with a medevac or a Liberator. This could be a mine drop into tanks. It could be anything. From my perspective, you know, I don't play Terran. Tank is coming out, and Gumi now builds a medevac. Now we do see a gateway here out on the map. Hasn't been scouted by Mr. Hellion here. Not fully doing its job. Actually met up with a Stalker, so still hasn't made its way up to the other side of the map. 4 Marines here. Very hopefully waiting for some Adept to move up the ramp. They're kind of like fishing. You know, they're fishing. Just hoping for some gateway unit to walk up this ramp without vision. And there's 4 more Marines here. This Hellion is in the shade. Wow. The Stalkers actually can't find it. It's whole positioned in the correct position. That's very cool. And now it's a 1 tank, 4 Marine drop going across the map, but Gerald has no chill. He sees no CC, and actually Gumi hasn't even started his CC. Instead, he's just dropping with a tank and 4 Marines. What the hell? That's so weird. Prompting Gerald to start attacking himself. Tries to go up the ramp. Whoops! That's actually quite a few more Marines than I expected. There's a siege tank in my natural. And just like game number 1, what the hell is going on here, boys? And thank God you can't pick up sieged tanks anymore in this video game. So GuMiho does end up losing that tank. I don't know why you would do a tank drop with 4 Marines. It looks a little bad. But, you know, if it works, it works. Gumi now is privy to this gateway. He was kind of like, hold on, that's a lot of units you got up across the map. How did that happen? And Spidey senses were correct. There is an annoying gateway here at his, well, we've talked about it before. It's in theory a 4th base location, but usually it's like a 7th base location. And the 3 Marines in the medevac are here to revenge their 1 fallen brother and their tank. The dude gets 6 probes, dude. 1 medevac out healing this 1 Stalker. The other side of the map, Gerald is ready with Blink. Doesn't have a way of getting any vision just yet into the main base. Maybe he's going to try and shade in with this Adept. Get that vision. There's more Stalkers being warped over here. And maybe he can actually catch a part of these. If he catches these reinforcements, that could be game ending. Does he see? No, he does not see the medevac. And this push is going across the map without Gerald even seeing it. He does see this base, and now, wow, Gerald's force gets into the natural and gets to kill a bunch of SCVs and the army or reinforcements of GuMiho. The army of GuMiho going across the map. We're going to go full zoom out, and all these Stalkers are now in the main base, killing his dudes, and they can even still recall 4 Stalkers already on the defensive job here. Nuclear battery is ready to go. It is committed. It probably gets clicked down right away. It does get clicked down. These Stalkers go back into the main base, and the probe's actually coming off the line. And meanwhile, the natural of GuMiho is under assault by these Stalkers in the back. Now get F2'd back. The SCVs are pulled off the line as well, and Gerald has to do a cheat or a good hold here. I want to use that word again. Oh, big Blinken gets on top of the Stalkers. Now, this is a big Chad move here from Gerald. Gets all of those tanks, takes the sting out of this push, and now all that Gumi has remaining is a couple Marines and medevacs. Not even stim on deck. And look at that. The Stalkers overpower that force. Wow. I thought that force was way stronger than it actually was. The Marines without stim aren't that scary, boys. And, I mean, Gerald just walks across the map and kills him now, no? We still have this Adept. We still have no way for Gerald to get vision into the main base, but I mean, there's 1 tank. He's just gonna walk up and and blink across. Oh, the medevacs get caught by the stalkers as well. Rip in pepperonis. The blink in on top of the tank. The SCVs get completely bypassed, and GuMiho has to sound the horn. He has to call the G's. And Gerald, playing like his life is depending on it, because it kind of is, or at least his life in this tournament, not his actual physical life. And after wild game 1 and 2, we go into a rubber match, game number 3. Game number 3. Gerald going up against GuMiho. And these men are cultured StarCraft players, because they decided that if we play the first 2 games on standard maps, Oceanborn, Alcyone, but no side delta for us on game number 3. It's Ghost River, where real men duel. Winner takes all the marbles here in game number 3. Gerald going for the Reaper wall. No, I mean, there's not much to say about this. It stops the Reapers, but the downside is that if there's bio or tanks or whatever, they can kill these buildings for free if it's difficult to defend this location. Let's see what GuMiho has planned for Ghost River. Going for the double gas opener here. Let's see if he goes for the reactor first opener once again. The probe is making its way across the map again. So far, looking pretty similar to the first games. But now we see a Zealot coming out of Gerald. We saw Gerald do this against his previous Terran opponent, Moya. He did it against Moya. Almost every game he started the Zealot and he finished it. I think, was it Moya? Maybe it was Euthermal. I think it was Euthermal, because Moya always NG blocks, and Gerald doesn't do it. Or, Moya doesn't NG block against Gerald, because Gerald likes to make the Zealots. I think it was against Euthermal. So, a bit surprising to see, actually, that Gerald doesn't finish the Zealots in this game, or this time around. Now, we do see a Gumi Reaper coming out. That is a first of the series. And is going to get a little scouting info. Shoots the pylon for good measure. This one probe gets spotted and doesn't make its way into the main base. Because of that, will find death. But perhaps it does make sure that the Reaper does not get into the main base to get any scouting done. But Gerald does not really have any gas. Oh, there he goes. Twilight console goes up. And of course you can just see it. So I feel like that probe died in vain. But maybe Gerald was hoping that the Reaper wouldn't see it, but the Reaper barely did see it. Probe is trying to harass these SCVs, but they are getting harassed back, and these Marines don't take kindly to harassment. Especially not in the workplace. Whoops. And the Adept actually got the capital punishment there as well. For even attempting a little bit of scouting, not even mentioning harassment yet. So we're getting a bunch of Marines here from Gumi once again. Cyclone and a medevac. And the first Cyclone is already out on the map. Has found a kill here. Probably found a probe. Or we can see from the units lost that it was a probe. Robo's coming out of Gerald here with the second gateway. So this Robo's a little earlier than we saw from him in the first 2 games. So he's going to get an earlier observer. Might actually be able to blink into the main base of GuMiho. But there is no stim being researched just yet to be sniped. 8 Marines and 2 Cyclones with a medevac are going across the map. And this is a juicy target for GuMiho. Killing this pylon even. Just stopping the blink from going down. This Adept feeling the wrath of the double Cyclone. And now the drop from Gumi does come in. How many Stalkers do we have? 2 Stalkers on deck, and this pylon gets targeted down right away. These units kind of seem like, to me, on the wrong side of the wall. But these Stalkers are fighting back, but the Cyclone is getting targeted down. 2 gateways starting on up. And this blink is not finishing up just yet. Puts a big-ass dent into Gerald's game plan here. New Cybercore needs to get started up as well here in the back. And these Stalkers are trying to dissuade GuMi from taking down these buildings. Dude, I feel like such a genius for mentioning the fact that this wall could die in this exact game. Because I always think it, and I'm always like, it's kind of weird to say that every game, because it never happens. But it happened. What a gamer. This probe comes in, wants to put down a Nexus, but surprise, Cyclones. Oh, this Stalker is going to go down. What? The only Stalker that was going to die, I guess that was a misclick of sorts. Like, his brain messed up, because he blinked the only one that was going to die. Oh, nice click on the Cyclone there. And no could pick up my girl. Oh, that Stalker stays alive. 1 health. 1 health. No third base as of yet. Liberator here at the top. Gets 3 Proby boys. But Gerald doing okay on the probes right now. Especially if you consider that GuMi does not have a third base just yet. Now only just starting it. Just starting Stim and +1. So yes, Gerald has been delayed, but GuMi... It's gonna be a while until this Stim finishes before GuMi really wants to be aggressive. And in that time, Gerald can really take map control, try to get a little damage, and probe the hell up, get some upgrades, and get ready for the next push. And he's doing that by making Colossi. He's getting charge. He's even starting a Forge, or a Forge is almost done. Because I feel like a lot depends on the next fight. That is probably going to happen because GuMiho will attack with this Stim, Combat Shield, +1, and Medivacs. He'll use it to both save his third base. Ooh, gets a nice cheeky snipe on the SCV. This tank wasn't quite agreeing with that, but there's 3 tanks here, and this... Oh, 4 even. Whoa. Look at that. Incognito tank. Doesn't... You know, look at the camouflage. You don't see him behind all these buildings. That's kind of genius. You only need a couple shots for that to pay off. And these tech labs are fully defended by the SimCity. These anti-blink stalker walls in your main base from Terran, I find really, really funny. It's having like a barracks factory starport, like a giant Chinese wall. I think is really funny to see. Gerald has a bunch more gateways coming up, 4 in production. He has 5 on the map, so he's going up to 9 gates. He has 3 bases saturated. These Stalkers are being hunted, but they're blinking around. This Disruptor, I don't know what he's doing out here. Oh, the Disruptor gets a decent shot. 4 kills. Is there a recall? I just instinctively pressed my Nexus hotkey. But luckily that doesn't do anything in-game. The Disruptor does get shot at, but GuMi is now moving across the map. All of those upgrades I mentioned earlier are done. These Stalkers see a ginormous Terran force that is approaching, and these rocks haven't been targeted down. Dude, how many times do I tell you guys about these rocks? This tank position is... This is another corridor of death. It's Golden Aura, but worse. Like, how are you fighting into this, Gerald? Gerald? Tell me. Gerald? How are you going to flank this? Are you going to go down this ramp? No. You're going to walk all the way around? Apparently. Is it going to be fun? No. No, it's not going to be fun. Oh my god. I'm a little upset. Can you tell? How do you deal with these? Like, how do you deal with this? Oh my god. The Zealots get pulled into the bio there. Poor Gerald loses a bunch of the Zealots there. And I think you want to have a War Prism and drop some Zealots when the bio leaves them alone. That's like... And then you use Disruptors and Colossi to deal with pokes like this. You have shield batteries outside of the tank range. Oh, but Gerald goes in. He sends in all of the Zealots. They were still a move command, but there they come. Stalkers targeting down the tanks. Wow, the tanks kill one of those Colossi right away. And that went smoother than I expected, I'm not gonna lie. I felt like that position is such a B to push into. But Gerald survives for now, but at what cost, ladies and gentlemen? 50 supply versus 76. 67, I don't know. And now pushing into his third base is difficult for a Dutch person, okay? Because we say it the other way around. We say 60 and then 7. Or no, we say 7 and then 60. 760 in Dutch. But you say 67 in English. So it's always kind of a malfunction in my brain when I think too much about it. As soon as you start thinking about it, that's when you start messing it up. Gerald was taking a fourth behind this. That pylon does spot nicely for the Nexus, but it does end up going down. I would really like a ninja base on this map. I feel like, especially in Gerald's position, how are you ever taking a fourth? Big Doom drop, goes into the main, and Gerald is not in position. We do not see a recall just yet. The Colossi are coming up here. And the shield battery goes down. Nothing else goes down yet. The probes are making sure that these Archons cannot get themselves hurt. So the Archon's not helping defend that drop. In the meanwhile, GuMiho gets in between his bases and snipes a couple reinforcements and gets into the probe line. Even clicks on the Nexus for good measure. Now the Colossi are walking back. The Stalkers are here. The Archons are here. Good defense by Gerald in the second instance of defending. But again, at what cost? 60 probes. Decent army supply, honestly. And getting +2 armor. He's even going into Storm, perhaps. I just saw the High Templar, but he's going into Archons. Double drop here at the top. We do see the blink. There's already one Stalker. It blinks, and look at this Sim City that is helping GuMiho stay alive. The Colossus is not coming over. Where is the Colossus? It's across the map. Gerald has had enough, and he pushes in for some counter damage. The SCVs come off the line, attack these Stalkers. This Archon is gonna do a huge number, but actually there are Vikings here, and these Stalkers really, really need to get into a glorious position to take down all of these Vikings before the Colossus goes down. And the Stalkers do so, but the Colossus is now exposed. Too many Marauders. Hero Archon comes back in. Meanwhile, workers are being killed on both sides of the map, and this game is just going from crazy to your ex-girlfriend. Do have one more drop from the Terran, but there's like 4 Stalkers and a Colossus in GuMiho's base killing his dudes. 33 SCVs go down. How do they do this every game? Is this just a Gumi thing or a Gerald thing or a both of them type of thing? Dude, the mules on this PF. Gerald doesn't know about that base. That might just end up biting him in the ass. Oh, that's a headache giver. If you watch the replay as Gerald after this, if you win or lose, especially if you lose, you're like, this trucker had a 4th base and he muled it to goddamn heaven, or however you say it. We do have a disruptor, the comeback unit, the caster moments. Oh, it hits nothing. Now the Marauders come in. Oh, another Marauder force from the other side. Snipes the Colossus, and the Stalkers get on out. 1 Archon, 2 Zealots, and 4 Stalkers. Now these Protoss players can make magic happen, but there are no Storms. There isn't even Storm on deck. No, just Archons from this Templar Archives. No 4th base for Gerald, dude. He is not progressing. He's not growing. He's standing still. The rat race has gotten him. His mortgage is too high. He can't save. He can't invest. Meanwhile, GuMiho was born with a trust fund. You know, that's just life. That makes me a better person than you. I was born with rich parents. Disruptor coming out. For the record, I was not born into rich parents. Probably the opposite, most people would say. Oh, Gerald does see that 1 Zealot. Or most people would say. We just have numbers on that. Yes, my parents were poor. I can just state it as a fact. Are poor, by the way. Or the one that remains alive. But GuMi's army, oh my god, it's actually doubling Gerald's supply. Gerald needs to find a really nice fight. If he can fight half the army of GuMi and smash it with a nice disruptor shot, perhaps, it can go very well. But instead, Gerald is just getting fully surrounded. And his Archon Force, the last disruptor, it's trying to recover, but the cooldown is still there. And GuMiho gets, wow, look at that. The full surround, the 360 no-scope surround with all of his bioforces, stimming in for the win, building 5 Marauders at a time versus Gerald, who really, really likes his Stalkers. Takes down Gerald here in game number 3, and these players, I mean... These were games of StarCraft. I am not sure what happened the whole time. Usually, I can kind of sense what's going to happen. Like, okay, this person is taking a base, and then, you know, like I kind of know what type of moves they want to make. I felt kind of lost in these casts, honestly. All of a sudden, they were just kind of both attacking and losing workers, and who was winning? It was great fun, though. I hope you guys also really, really enjoyed this cast. Be sure to like and subscribe. Let me know down below if you enjoyed, if there's any games from this group or upcoming groups that you really want me to cover. Other than that, don't have much to say. Just gonna end it there. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers!